You know, when most people think of a Revolutionary War hero, they probably jump to George Washington or Paul Revere. But today, we're talking about someone who makes those guys look like they just showed up for a group photo. Meet Benjamin Martin, a widowed farmer from South Carolina who just wanted to make rocking chairs and raise his 7 kids in peace, but ended up becoming the most terrifyingly effective guerrilla fighter in American history. And spoiler alert, he's not even real.
You suck, you jackass!
Howdy, and thanks for clicking on this video to see what this jackass has to say. I appreciate you. So, our story today begins in colonial South Carolina. Benjamin Martin's living his best life as a single dad, wrangling 7 kids after his wife passed away. This dude's seen some serious combat in the French and Indian War, and let's just say he did things that would make John Wick need therapy. In the movie, he literally says,
I can see their faces. I can still hear their screams. And not a day goes by where I don't ask God's forgiveness for what I did.
So when the Revolutionary War kicks off, Benjamin's like, nope, I'm done with war. I've got 7 kids to feed, and I'm not about to leave them orphans, so y'all can go fight King George. When called to vote on supporting the Continental Army, he abstains. His reasoning, I'm a parent. I haven't got the luxury of principles. Honestly, as a parent myself, I can absolutely relate. But here's the thing about trying to stay neutral in a war. A lot of times the war comes to you. The moment everything changed. So Benjamin's oldest son, Gabriel, being a typical teenager, joins the Continental Army against his dad's wishes. 4 years later, Gabriel comes home wounded, and wouldn't you know it, the British show up at the worst possible time. Enter Colonel William Tavington, who's basically the human embodiment of every reason Americans hate the British. He arrests Gabriel as a spy, and when Benjamin's second son, Thomas, tries to help, Tavington just casually murders a child in front of the entire family.
Stupid boy.
Then, not to be outdone, he burns their house down and executes all the wounded American soldiers they were caring for. And Benjamin Martin spent years trying to be peaceful, trying to be a good Christian father, trying to forget the monster he used to be. And this pompous British douchebag psychopath just shows up and murders his child in his own front yard.
It's a piece of shit, you know?
So what happens next is the most intense dad revenge scene, I think, in movie history. Benjamin grabs his 2 youngest sons, gives them rifles, and teaches them how to pick off British officers one by one. Then this 40-something-year-old farmer proceeds to single-handedly ambush an entire British convoy with nothing but a tomahawk and pure parental rage.
Pure rage.
I'm talking about a man who goes full berserker mode. He'd make Wolverine envious, hacking through British soldiers like he's chopping firewood, all while his young sons watch in absolute terror. The dude is covered in blood, screaming like a banshee, and moving through these redcoats like the Terminator. It's so brutal that his own kids are traumatized just watching their dad do some work. So then he lets one British soldier live just to send a message. Imagine being that guy having to go back to your commanding officer and explain that some random farmer just turned your entire squad into hamburger meat with a hand axe.
I wouldn't want to be that guy.
So after this, Benjamin Martin basically becomes the boogeyman of the British Army. He joins up with his old commanding officer, gets appointed as a colonel, and starts running the most effective guerrilla campaign in American history. Bro's out here ambushing British patrols, burning bridges, stealing supplies, and generally making Lord Cornwallis's life absolute hell. He's using every dirty trick he learned in the French and Indian War, plus some new ones he's making up on the spot. So the British are so frustrated with this guy that Cornwallis gives Tavington a blank check to do whatever it takes to capture Martin. And Tavington, being the absolute monster that he is, starts burning down entire towns and executing innocent families just to draw Martin out. The real-life heroes behind Benjamin Martin. Now here's where it gets interesting from an educational standpoint. Benjamin Martin isn't actually based on a real person. He's a composite character based on 4 different Revolutionary War heroes. And trust me, these guys are just as badass as the movie version. Francis Swamp Fox Marion. So Francis Marion was the original Ghost in the Machine. This guy operated out of South Carolina swamps, appearing out of nowhere to hit British supply lines and disappearing back into the marshes before anyone could catch him. The British allegedly were so frustrated with Marion that they literally couldn't figure out how to fight him. His hit-and-run tactics and use of local terrain knowledge are directly mirrored in Benjamin Martin's guerrilla warfare. And here's a little fun fact. Marion's men were so loyal they'd follow him into alligator-infested swamps without question. I think that's some serious leadership right there. Number 2 is Andrew Pickens, aka the Wizard Owl. So Andrew Pickens was the tactical genius of the group. The man was so reliable and brilliant that both sides respected him. The British called him the Honest Patriot. Pickens was was the mastermind behind some of the militia tactics we see in the film, especially that famous feigned retreat at the Battle of Cowpens. Benjamin Martin's dad energy and sense of responsibility, that's pure pickings right there. Number 3 is Daniel Morgan. So Daniel Morgan allegedly was a tough-as-nails frontiersman who earned the nickname the Old Wagoner. This guy's use of double envelopment and militia lines at Cowpens is directly recreated in the film's final battle. Morgan had this reputation of being gruff, practical, and unafraid to get his hands dirty. Basically Benjamin Martin without the family drama. And at number 4 is Thomas Sumter, aka the Fighting Gamecock. Thomas Sumter got his nickname because he never backed down from a fight, no matter how outnumbered he was. His relentless attack on British outposts and refusals to quit are key traits in Benjamin Martin's character. The University of South Carolina's mascot is literally named after this dude. Just imagine Benjamin Martin leading a militia of angry chickens. And here's a great trivia hook that most people probably won't believe. The Patriot was directed by Roland Emmerich, a German-born openly gay filmmaker who's also behind blockbusters like Independence Day, The Day After Tomorrow, Godzilla, and 2012. So basically we had to leave it to a German to make the most American movie ever. And honestly, I think Emmerich's outsider perspective actually helped him approach the American Revolution with fresh eyes, focusing on universal themes of family, sacrifice, and freedom that resonate with audiences worldwide. And then the climax of Benjamin Martin's story comes at the Battle of Cowpens, where he finally gets his chance for revenge against Tavington. And this final fight is everything you want it to be. Martin and Tavington go at it one-on-one, and Martin literally impales the guy who killed his sons. But here's what I think makes Benjamin Martin such a compelling character, even after all this violence, even after becoming this legendary warrior. At the end of the day, he's still just a dad who wants to go home to his kids. The movie ends with him returning to find his former militia has rebuilt his house in honor of his dead son Gabriel's dream of building a new world. This is a man who went from peaceful farmer to legendary warrior to founding father, all because someone messed with his family. He represents everything we think we know about American spirit: independence, family values, standing up to tyranny, and never backing down from a fight. Plus, in today's world of helicopter parenting and participation trophies, there's something deeply satisfying about watching a dad who will literally go to war to protect his children. For me, Benjamin Martin is the ultimate don't mess with my family character, and that resonates just as much today as it did in 1776. He's proof that sometimes the most reluctant heroes make the most compelling stories, and that the best patriots aren't the ones waving flags, they're the ones willing to sacrifice everything for the people they love. History's messy, complicated, and rarely as clean as Hollywood makes it, but sometimes Hollywood gets it right by accident. Benjamin Martin might be a fictional composite, but the spirit he represents, that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when pushed to their limits, look, that's as real as it gets, dog. And in a world where we're constantly debating what patriotism really means, maybe we can learn something from a character who proved that sometimes the most American thing you can do is protect your family and fight for what you really believe in. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of cinema's most complex patriotic characters, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content breaking down the real history behind your favorite movie heroes. What other movie characters, fictional or non, should I cover next? Drop some of your suggestions in the comments below. I'm always looking for the next legendary figure to explore. And if you're planning your own 4th of July movie marathon, let me know if Benjamin Martin makes that cut. Until next time, remember, sometimes the best way to understand American history is through the movies that mythologize it. As always, the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone, but what do I know? I'm but a mere jackass. I'll try to do better next time. Catch you later, friends.
That talks too much. I'm just a jackass of all trades. Don't know shit. I keep on talking, acting like I'm so legit. From politics to sports, I'll spout my